Hello and welcome to Running the Table, the podcast where we run through everything on the table in the world of sports. And another college football season is here. College football is back. Week 0 has come and gone. And like we did in college basketball, we're going to review and recap everything that happened in this first week of college football. Yeah. So Tim, are you ready to go?
Hey, college football is back. We're all excited to be here. Let's run it.
Let's do it, baby. So the first thing we're going to do is run through the preseason AP poll. We're going to go through it really quickly. The top 4 entering are Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, and Clemson. Notre Dame rounds out the top 5 at 5th. More on that later. 6 through 10, Texas A&M, Utah, Michigan, Oklahoma, and Baylor. 11 through 15 goes Oregon, Oklahoma State, NC State, USC, and Michigan State. 16 through 20, the Canes of Miami, Pittsburgh, Wisconsin, Arkansas, and Kentucky. And rounding out the top 25, we have Ole Miss, Wake Forest, Cincinnati, Houston, and BYU. Tim, I know you have some opinions, especially towards the top of the preseason AP poll. So what do you got for us?
Yeah, so I mean, we see some interesting teams at different positions here. First of all, my 2 points out of the top five. Clemson, we saw a very poor showing out of them last year. I think it's bold to put them at 4 again to enter this season. I absolutely see some definite improvement from what we saw last year. I mean, that's just what Clemson is, but I don't know if number 4 is where I would put them. Second of all, Notre Dame under a new head coach. You've got a lot of switching around. I think they're going to be pretty good. Once again, though, 5 in my opinion is a little too high. Comfortable with seeing both of those probably in the top 10, but putting them as high as 4 and 5 is a little bit interesting. The other thing going into this season is I personally, from what I've seen, I've heard a lot of talk about NC State this, NC State that.
Yeah, the Wolf
I
Pack.
think they're a little bit overhyped. And seeing them at 13 is a little bit more comfortable in my mind. I've seen people say they're going to be as high as top 5 throughout the season. It's like, I'd like to see some evidence of that first in terms of who they play competition wise and how they actually perform against some of the highest level competition before we put them up there. We've seen that from some of the other more middle programs that have really had a really good season. Let's see how they perform against the top dogs before we start putting them up there with them.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely going off of track record here a little bit with Clemson and Notre Dame. Notre Dame
Yeah.
has been really, really good throughout these
That's what
past
the
years.
preseason
And
poll is kind of about.
yeah, and like
That's all
barring
you got,
last
you
year,
got to go
Clemson has
with it,
been
really.
really, really, really good. NC State, a lot of hype. Utah is a team with a lot of hype. They
Yeah.
finished their season strong. So I think we just have to see how this plays out, especially in week 1. But now that we've wrapped up the preseason AP poll, we're going to go over what happened in week 0. There's really not much to note, but there are some very interesting games that happened. The main game, of course, being the one in Ireland, Nebraska and Northwestern, where Northwestern came back and stunned the Cornhuskers 31-28. And it's just another chapter in the fall of Nebraska football. The once mighty powerhouse in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, they just aren't that anymore. And I think that's really encapsulated by Scott Frost's decision to onside kick it in the third quarter up 2 scores. It didn't work out. Northwestern took the ball right back down the field, got the ball back, and completed the comeback. And of course, when Nebraska had a chance to win it at the end of the game, they threw a back-breaking interception, and it was just another Nebraska Cornhuskers disaster. It was, ugh. I,
Yeah, going into the season, I was kind of really tired of the Nebraska hype. They talked about the changes they had made and the
we're
guys that
all
they
tired of
added,
Nebraska hype. It's
and
just,
all this did was prove me 100% correct. I'm not a Scott Frost fan. We've seen this just fall flat on his face time and time again. And this program, even with some of the great additions, I mean, first of all, Thompson at quarterback was able to bring some much needed revitalization to their passing game,
he was very
passing for
good in his debut.
350 plus yards.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they turned the ball over multiple times, and their defense got absolutely floored by a Northwestern offense that just usually isn't that good. And sure, I'm sure they've had some improvements going into this year, but for them to get 31 put on them, that's not in line with the quality of what this Nebraska team was supposed to be entering this year with, along with all the talk. So, I mean, it's a long season. Like we said, it's week 0, but at the same time, uh, I
Still a
just
hilarious concept to me, just week 0.
Yeah,
It's
it's
college
an
football's
interesting one.
version of a preseason, but
Yeah,
I'm with you. Nebraska just keeps pulling out this shtick time and time again that this year is going to be the year and this year is going to be better and they're going to turn it around, and they just don't. They just fall flat on their face time and time again. And let's not discount what Northwestern did. They're an incredibly scrappy team that fought their way back from double-digit deficits multiple times in the game, and they were able to show what they had in the
they just
tank
fought their
and
way
come
back.
back, and they came back and won it.
Yeah.
But some other news and highlights from week 0. Florida State absolutely floors Duquesne 47-7 at
I mean,
home.
who's that surprised?
No, no, but the thing to note
If
is
they
that,
didn't, I would be worried.
well, it's Florida State, and they did lose to
It's
Jacksonville
Duquesne.
State. Hey, they lost to Jacksonville State before,
This
so
is
they've
true.
dropped some stunners to FCS teams. It would not surprise me about the Seminoles. But the thing to note is that 3 Florida State running backs ran for 100 plus yards, which I think is pretty cool. And
Wow.
just, yeah,
That's efficiency.
Trayshawn Ward, Trey Benson, and Lawrence Tofiali all ran for 100 plus yards, all scored a touchdown or more, and they were all very efficient doing it. So that's something to note. And another thing to note throughout week 0 was the FCS version of Spygate. Stephen F. Austin playing Jacksonville State, and Rich Rodriguez, he knows ball, he knows competition, but he's also a little bit paranoid because he accused Stephen F. Austin of spying on their practices. Which is just hilarious to me. It didn't help them at all
It's
because,
week 0.
yeah, well, Jacksonville State ended up flooring Stephen F. Austin 42 to
It
17
clearly didn't do
anyway.
much good, even if they did. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not like the spying helped much, but it, week 0 is just a fun
It's an
time. And
adventure.
yeah, the real games will start next week in week 1. But before we wrap things up, Tim, you had your teams of the week, your team of the week for the last week, and your team to look out for in college basketball. Now
It's
it's
your
my
turn.
turn. It's my turn to have the team of the week and the team to look out for in college football. And I think it's a very obvious pick who the team of the week was. It's the Northwestern Wildcats.
Wildcats, baby.
They were double digit underdogs. We talked previously about how they fought, they clawed back, and they made it a game, and they shocked the Cornhuskers. So kudos to them. They really stunned Nebraska, and this was just a Northwestern victory as it was a Nebraska collapse. So the Wildcats definitely deserve their due. But my team to look out for in week 1 is the Utah Utes. I said previously that they were ranked 7th, and it was a little bit high. Now, they finished the season last year pretty strong with 2 wins against Oregon, and they went toe
At
to toe,
Rose
punch for
Bowl.
punch against Ohio State in the
Yeah.
Rose Bowl. And now they open up their season at Florida, at the Swamp in Gainesville. And it's a very tough test. They're only 3-point favorites as of right now. And what I'm looking for is to see if the hype is real, because I've seen some, hey, Utah can maybe make the college football playoff. Not so fast. Let's see how they do when the actual games start. So that's what I'm looking out for, is that can Utah stand up to the hype in a very, very tough environment to play at Florida?
Oh yeah, talk about a week 1 matchup that really just throws you right into the fire. That's not an easy place to go into and take your first legitimate test at, especially week 1. So I mean they're going to get put to the test real quick. And it's easy for the talk to happen early, but it's whether or not they can back that up with a week 1 performance.
Oh, 100%. And because this recap episode was a little bit short and the college football season is just starting, we're going to do some very, very early college football playoff predictions, predicting the final 4 teams that definitely, definitely will not crash and burn. These predictions are definitely going to be right on the mark. So, Tim, you'll start us off with your 4 teams, who you think the final 4 teams will be left standing at the end of the season.
Yeah, so looking at this one, I think we can both agree that there are 2 probable almost locks for this based on
Nothing's
overall
ever a
team
lock
chemistry.
in college
Nothing's a
football,
lock,
especially at the
but
start of
I
the
would say as
season, but
close as we can get to a lock given the information that we're given, and that's Alabama
correct.
and Ohio State. They're
Yeah.
2 teams that are led by 2 of the most talented quarterbacks in all of college football, with rosters to surround them that absolutely complement them on every side. Um, The third team I have is I believe Georgia will make it back. I believe they have a talented enough roster, and you know how those Georgia defenses always are. They're usually able to drag them enough to have that resume to get into the college football playoff. And then the fourth one is particularly difficult because, of course, I mean, as of right now, we don't know what any of these teams really look like. Um, but I took a little shot in the dark, and I think that a Dylan Gabriel-led Oklahoma Sooners team might be able to
Ooh.
squeak their way in and prove some haters wrong and get into the college football playoff, Lincoln Riley or not.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting pick with Georgia and
As we
Oklahoma.
said, these won't
We don't.
backfire at all,
No, no, they won't. They'll be 100% accurate.
considering the fact that we definitely don't have the same team. So it's not like one of us is going to be wrong either way.
Well, here's my thing. I mean, we do have the same top two teams in Alabama and Ohio State, which I think is a given. Those two college football programs have the two key ingredients that you're looking for in a college football playoff team: a marquee quarterback in Bryce Young and CJ Stroud, and a very, very good head coach in Nick Saban and Ryan Day, respectively. So they are pretty much about as
They're
locked.
about as proven and
Yeah,
battle tested as you can get in the college football world.
Yeah, they're about as locked in to the college football playoff as you can be at this point in the season. But my 3 and 4 teams are where they get a little bit dicey. And the third team, and I have, is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. And there have been controversy over the past few years of whether Notre Dame deserves to get in, whether they've made it in,
Gotten
whether
thrashed most of the times that they have.
exactly, especially playing and on a line. They're not in a conference, even though they play like half their games at the ACC. I look at this Notre Dame team. They have a new head coach. I like the roster overall. Their schedule is a little bit tougher than it has been in years past. They open up against Ohio State, and I think Ohio State's going to win that game. And if Notre Dame's one loss is to Ohio State, who I imagine is going to run the table, just go undefeated, sweep through the Big Ten. If everything goes according to plan, how I think it's going to, Ohio State's going to be undefeated. And if Notre Dame's one loss is to them, there should be no reason why they should not be in. But Tim, my fourth team, because I was looking for a fourth team, and
Oh
I
boy, this
am
better be good.
I am a very big Miami Hurricanes fan. So
Oh
why not
no.
us? Why not the U? Why not the U to the playoffs?
Oh
All right.
no.
But here's the thing, the path is there. Hear me out a little
Yeah.
bit. Hear me out a
I'm
little.
listening. I'm listening.
All right. We talked
Convince
about
me.
we talked about the elements that Alabama and Ohio State have, and that marquee head coach and a good quarterback. Miami has that also in Mario Cristobal, who I believe is one of the best head coaches in the nation, and Tyler Van Dyke, who, as a freshman, won the job last year and looked absolutely phenomenal down the stretch. Now he has a year of experience under his belt, and he's going to take that jump to lead the Canes to the promised land. The scheduling matches up too. Their two toughest tests are Texas A&M, who's currently ranked 6th, at Kyle Field in College Station, and against Clemson. If they win those two games, or say they lose the first game to Clemson and they win the ACC championship, I see no reason that why they can't make it. I love this Canes team. I love what they built. They got the quarterback. They got the head coach. Mario Cristobal has retooled that coaching staff. That's something that I'm very high on that I don't think enough people are talking about. That coaching staff is stacked. Miami's defense is always good. They have that swagger back, and they're going to dance right into the college football playoff. You heard it here first. No bias at all.
No, I mean, bias or not, I mean, you are right that they've made a lot of changes and that their schedule does lean favorably towards a very solid season.
If
Um,
everything goes right, of course,
yeah,
because
once again,
yeah,
everything has to fall into place for all of these teams, and it's just a matter of who it falls
and
for.
and like
Um,
say they also play Pitt, who's ranked right behind Miami. If Miami beats Pitt, which they have done in years past, I think that's another impressive win that the committee will look favorably on. So especially if they go undefeated and win the ACC, Miami will be in. With that resume, no question. One loss, it's a little bit of a tougher case. Two losses, no thank you. My expectations for the Canes are a New Year's Six bowl, and if everything goes right, they'll be one of the top 4 left standing. So I convinced you
hey,
yet, Tim?
You make a good argument, and it definitely will make a lot of Canes fans excited and fired up to hear that. But I mean, that's
Throw
why
up the
we
U,
play. That's why
baby.
we go into week one with a clean slate. That's why all these teams do. And we're gonna have a lot of football to watch, a lot of things to pay attention to as the season goes on, and can't wait to be a part of it.
Absolutely. That'll wrap up our week zero recap. We're excited to cover college football. Like you said, we're going to
It's
be doing
back,
it's
baby.
back. We're going to be doing weekly recaps every single week. So we can't wait to bring that to you. We'll have NFL predictions, NFL fantasy football stardom sittums.
We
So
have
that'll,
a lot in the
yes,
works.
we do.
It's that time of year.
It's that time of year. Let's get rolling. Let's run through these tables like Bill's Mafia, baby. But if you want more from us, like and subscribe. If you like some of our stuff, go watch some of our other videos because if you want it, we probably have it. But until next time, we out.